everybody. My name's Eloise Ansell. Welcome to the Dose of Truth webinar. I'm very excited to be here with Terry-Ann this evening, and a few of you. It's going to be a very exciting evening. Lots of people couldn't make it. Got some questions from a few people that couldn't make it to discuss later. But I just want to welcome you all. Very excited about this project, and we really want to tell you all about it tonight and answer all of your questions. So what we're planning on doing tonight is introducing ourselves, explaining our ethos. Did I spell that right? I don't know. Plus what makes our course unique and our membership unique, answering all your questions and talking about next steps. So we will make sure we answer any questions that any of you have this evening. Let's get out of this share mode. And I am so excited to be here. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'm Eloise Ansell. I am a therapist, trainer based in the UK. And I've known Terry-Ann for, I don't know how long we've known each other now, since about 2007, 2008. And as well as being colleagues, we're quite good friends. And for years, I have been nagging her that could we do a tarot course online, because she's so good at teaching it. And finally, one of the blessings of this time in our period of time is that we can get started with this. So we've come up with this amazing idea of doing a Dose of Truth tarot course and membership, and that's what we want to discuss with you this evening. Now, Terry-Ann, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little about you?
Yeah, sure. I also do all kinds of different healing therapies, and I'm an instructor. Well, obviously, of tarot. I've been doing tarot instruction since '95, and I've been working with the tarot since I was a kid. I had this intuitive sense, or you could call it psychic sense, of what was going to happen. So I wanted to use something as a medium to support. Why would you see the future? Why would you even, in the tarot, we look at it and you're not supposed to predict the future. It's not what it does. So then you have this capacity, why do I even see what's going to happen? Or a reading comes up and why do I know what's going to happen? So I spent years just going through the tarot to begin to understand, what exactly is going on, why do things go wrong, why are there moments that we don't predict properly? So it taught me basically the archetypal patterns and the way we question the cards actually kind of make us get the answers wrong. So I learned that we had to ask a proper question. I learned that it depends on the reader and the querent, exactly how you're going to bring up a question. But of course, that wasn't my focus. My focus was the work for myself. And what ended up happening is I began to understand basically the philosophy behind, no time space and time space. So if you know the cards a little bit, we have major arcanas and minor. The majors do no time and space. There's just everything is occurring in the moment. And whatever I can shift in this particular moment shifts my future in some way. Whereas the minors actually tell us what's happening on a day-to-day basis, including, as ridiculous as that sounds, but how many times you eat, brush your hair, brush your teeth, go to the washroom. It can tell you all of those things, and you would want that stuff out of the way, right? So it took me forever to really figure out how to tell a story with the cards, because we go in, we see a meaning, we kind of apply the meaning. It sounds kind of bizarre when we're doing the reading, especially people would, many years ago when I started working in the public, I would get, in the days that we had landlines, people would call me up and say, on the internet, it's free. I think I should get a free session from you. You should do this reading for me. And I'd be like, no, just go online and get it for free. Go ahead, have a good time. And a week later, usually they'd call me up and say, I don't understand it. And I say, well, hence the field of study I've been in for, at that time, it was only 20 years. And I said, well, I've been studying this for a really long time, so you need to pay me for my time. And it was interesting because why didn't they understand what the cards were saying? So I don't know if any of you have looked it up, but you can look up a meaning and you just wonder how it applies. And that's where I started developing this idea that we're telling a story, just like a fairy tale, like Pinocchio or Cinderella. Like Pinocchio is a wooden boy and becomes a real boy. That's our journey through consciousness. We start off our lives basically a wooden head. And then through our journey, we're transmuting wisdom and we come out the other end as a real human. Or Cinderella, they're very superficial tales of Cinderella, but her journey is the journey of the feminine. And his journey, the prince, is the journey of the masculine, and the masculine and feminine coming together. So once you're familiar with really simple things, but apply it to your own fairy tales, I use your own knowledge first to begin how you're going to look at a card. And then we expand from there so that you get a better sense of your own wisdom and how that comes out of the cards. Because people often just look at a card, see the figure, and project. We don't want to project because that means we're just reading what we want. So for example, I've done many readings with people teaching students, and they would be really insistent. So here's a tarot card from the Rohig deck. You can see it says, I don't know if you could see that, it says strive, right? So it looks kind of difficult, right? So they would ask, will I meet someone? And you get strive. It's going to be quite difficult. Plus, you don't know this yet, but 5 presents obstacles. So I tell them, well, look, 5 is obstacles, and this says strive, so it's going to be difficult. And they'll say, but yes, I'm going to meet someone. I'm like, no, that's for certain. That's not what's happening here, right? So a lot of us do that. Now that's a very, blatant example, but I can tell you that we do it quite often. So I love doing this. I've been doing it, 40 years, I guess, right? 40? No, 50 years. Oh my God, 50 years. I forget my own age. So 50 years. I started at, being really interested, 10, 11 years old, and got my first deck and started working with it on my own. So that was really important. And later on, I started reading. But the first texts I was reading were things like Krishnamurti or, philosophy. Like I loved Uspensky and Gurdjieff and all of these different teachers. So that energy, especially when you look at Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was a magician, he would do sneaky things. And he actually met Gurdjieff, unbeknownst to me when I was in my teens and 20s. And they met each other. And Crowley actually went to Gurdjieff's house. And Crowley had his own wisdom, of course, but Gurdjieff kicked him out. He told him, get out of here, you don't know what you're doing. So it's kind of funny to see all of these different interpretations, but we can use that knowledge. So that knowledge, that body of knowledge, helped me see exactly where this imagery was coming from, because we don't know where tarot came from, right? Some people say it was Egypt, some people say it was Italy, but nobody really knows, how it evolved, because it makes sense. You can read a deck of cards as well. I don't know if anybody's had that experience of reading a plain, everyday 52 cards. If you know the meaning of the numbers and you know what the suits represent, you can obviously read the cards. And then when you move on to different decks, they're going to give you a different sense. That's why I find it so important that One, we get a simple deck to begin with, the traditional decks, or something with really good simple imagery. So, you can get something like this that's going to give you imagery, but you're also going to get the meanings of the cards in your deck. So this is 5 of Cups, which is disappointment. But most decks show 5 cups. This one shows a solid wall. So we can get confused, So what I do is I extract from the deck the element and the number so that you can read any deck. That said, when you start, you should start with traditional decks or decks like this that have the actual name on top. Here's another example.
And if anyone's thinking of joining us, don't worry, we have a whole lesson on choosing a deck. So
yes, we do. But I'm just pointing out, like, you could get something this beautiful. So you've got the 5 of Cups here, and that tells you immediately it's water, and you've got your cups, and then you learn. Yeah, 5 came up twice, didn't it? I picked from a 5 from the other deck, and actually picked 5 of Cups from the other deck and 5 of Cups from
it's
this
a
deck.
sign.
Who knew? Okay, that's just crazy. All right, so that happens often, that you end up picking the same card from a different deck. So what's that going to tell us? So this one just indicates that there are obstacles. Just to let you know, a 5 is usually choices or obstacles. I'm not going to go through a lesson of teaching you, but it's just kind of fun because the 5 came up. The 5, a lot of people don't like it. They don't like that number at all. They get all frustrated, whereas I resonate with 5. I've got a lot of 5s in my name, got a lot of 5s in my life, and I have fun with 5. It means, there's some obstacles, I get to work it through. Whereas a lot of people can get super frustrated. So you can think about when you go to a salesperson to buy something, let's say you say, well, I'm looking for a shirt. They usually tell you or ask you, what kind of shirt? What colors do you like? And the reason they do that is because the moment we see too much, we're overwhelmed. So that lets us know that 5 can do that to us. That 5 can really disrupt us. And when it comes to cups, it's our emotional content, whatever's going on emotionally. It could come up, let's say, in a relationship. And the moment the relationship has a 5 of Cups, there could be some turmoil going on in the relationship. And now there are a lot of options that need to be explored. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because what is it that I need to look at in myself if my relationship isn't working for me? And that is a beautiful question. What exactly do I need to explore within myself in my relationship? Again, when I'm speaking out loud, it can make a terrible question. You've got to sit down and write your question, which brings me to one of the things I have the biggest trials with. People can ask a question. So, for example, a girl comes in, she is thinking about some guy and says, how does he feel about me? Or what does he think about me? But inside, she's thinking, I want to know if he loves me. So you put the reading out. Let's say it's what does he think about me? You put the reading out. Sorry, lady, he's not thinking about you. What do you mean he doesn't love me? No, that's not the question you asked. You asked whether he's thinking about you. So one of the biggest parts of the training is to help you get a really accurate question. Then it's much easier to read your cards. It's so much easier to read the cards. And that I started developing when I was in my 30s and supporting people to shift the way they question the cards. And we used to sit and work really hard. Now it's much easier to ask the question and be more forward when it comes to someone. Now you could say to me, what about someone who doesn't want to tell you the question? That's okay. They don't have to tell me the question, but I do put a few stipulations. I'll say you never ask should. Because if you ask should, just think for a moment what happens. Should I buy this new car? Should I buy this house? Immediately, we're placing our power into the hands of a tarot reader who's got their own filters to life, and into this is where I get a little cheesy about things or dismissive, into a deck of cards. It's not the cards making your decision, it's the interaction of the reader with the cards and the querent. The querent, you're all aware that the questioner is the querent, I hope. It took me a while to be able to say the word. Over the years, I'd say querent. And then I think Eloise corrected me, it's querent. And oh, right, that makes a lot more sense. So,
not carrot.
Pardon me?
It sounded like carrot the first time.
It sounds like, it does sound like carrot. It does. So, these are really important things. I haven't seen too many readers discussing the question. And another beautiful point is, I forget this guy's name, but I saw his video and he was really lovely. He was pointing out that if we're a woman or a man, the card is going to differ. Now I take it one step further. So if a card comes up that is feminine, so this is a female, but what if there's a man in front of me? It can get confusing, but it's not. We've all got a masculine and feminine. So we read the card, well, that's going to take a little experience, but let's say this was the card a gentleman pulled. Then we know it's all about his feminine. Now, what happens with your partner? Well, if my feminine is disrupted, even if as a woman or a man, my partner will experience the same problem from me. So he might get more and more masculine. Now, if it's a man who's kind of, let's say he's got several female cards. So that would mean he's got a lot of feminine and wonders why his wife is domineering, controlling, organized, logical. Well, you're so involved in your feminine and you haven't brought your masculine out that she's compensating, likely unbeknownst to her. And the opposite can happen. When a woman's masculine is undeveloped, then she can attract a man who now organizes things and gets her to anchor the kind of, let's say, flighty part that the feminine can actually go into. It can become kind of ungrounded. So we look at feminine and masculine, doesn't matter the sex of the individual. It's so important. We usually look at it, and also I think it would be, important to mention that today people are identifying with different sexes. So when I first started, you didn't have all of this different identification. You had someone who was gay and someone who was straight, or you had someone who was straight who's not admitting that they're gay. So that's a bit of a problem when you're reading cards, because you don't want to, well, in those days, maybe today it's just fine, but you don't want to pull somebody out of the closet before they're ready. So I would kind of temper myself, and then that's when I tuned in. Hey, you're really in your feminine. Maybe you want to look at that. Maybe you want to anchor it a bit with your masculine. Maybe you want to be able to look at things a little differently. And I found it so helpful because you never know what the card's representing. I can put a reading out and I see all these feminine cards for myself. So I know I'm in my feminine. But what if all those feminine cards are upside down? It could tell me time to get out of my feminine and move into my masculine. So it can be super helpful just using these bits and pieces, just numbers, the feminine and masculine, and then your suits, what the elements are. So those of you who don't know, cups is water, coins is earth, swords are air, and fire is the baton. So it's easy to think a baton, rod, stave can be set on fire. Pretty easy to remember. Cups, we fill it with water, nice and easy to remember. Then our swords, sometimes people have trouble with that. But if you think we say he has a keen wit or someone has a sharp intellect, our vocabulary, our understanding of language already tells us that the mind is swords. And lastly, pentacles. It represents the earth. People often just go money, money, money. It's not just your money. It's your house. It's your body. So just working with those can begin to deepen your understanding of the tarot. And that's what we're going to start with, so you can tell a story. And that's really important, is being able to look at a reading and be able to tell a story about the person. So, I've gone for many readings. I'd say I had one that was really, really good. And it was in Nantucket down in the States. And this guy was new, and I shouldn't have done it, but I said, "Oh, I'm a tarot reader and I'm really looking for a reading." And I think that made him really nervous. So he started to get kind of insecure. And I said, "Just go for it, man. I don't care if it's 1 minute or half an hour. You don't even have to fill the half hour. Just tell me the story I'm in." And he went, "You are on the precipice, ready to jump off and do something new." And boy, was he bang on. It was right there. And I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what's happening to me. And I'm glad you confirmed it. I don't need to know anything else." He went, "You don't want me to continue?" I said, "Is there anything else to tell me?" He said, "Frankly, no." So I said, "Let me go. You don't need to make up anything." So he was the only one. Whereas other readers, would tell me what to do, what to wear, what color underwear to wear, what color brassiere to wear, so I could attract this and that. And they see some old lady offering me money. None of that ever came true. Because if you understand that when we go to someone like a healer, they should be tuning into the place you've come to. They're not tuning into where you're going to be. They should be picking up exactly where you are in this moment. And now you're going to say, "Well, how do we predict the future?" We don't. We actually don't. But in the present moment, we can look at probabilities. So if you get up every morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you brush your teeth, the likelihood you would continue doing that is very high. If you've been single for 20 years and you want a relationship, and you go and you go, sorry, someone's laughing, so it's making me laugh. And you go to a reader and you want a relationship, it's kind of like magic. No, you're likely not going to have a relationship. But the cards can show us why, can show us where we're stumped and help someone out. Just go, "Well, wait a minute, let's look at what's going on." Sometimes, I'm just going to make up a few things here. Sometimes it's because they don't have any space in their lives. My favorite one, and this happens more often with women than with men. Why I say that is I've never had a man do this ever out of thousands and thousands of readings. Zero. It's quite shocking. But I've had women do this. Even gay men don't do it. But women will come in and say, "I want the man to be like this," and they have a list of things they want him to do. Well, just get a Pinocchio, get a little puppet, get a robot, because they're human beings. And oftentimes women just see men as not human. It's like, they're human, they have feelings, they have different ways of approaching things. Another one that I love that has happened so often is someone comes in and tells me that this man is not doing what she wants. And you look at the reading and it's all feminine. There's just female everywhere. And I look at them, I'm a little facetious, I admit, but I'll say, "You're not looking for a man, you're looking for a woman. Just date women." Of course, they laugh it off, but I mean it, because women will do all the, "He doesn't care about me enough. He doesn't chatter with me enough. He tries to fix things. He tries to," well, yeah, he's a guy. Yeah. That's what men do. They're rather lovely. They're beautiful. They have sex differently. Of course, we can figure out how to relate differently, but they are slightly different. Now, it's good to know whenever you're doing reading that men and women, we are more alike than different. That has been validated over and over and over again. We are more alike than different. But those differences, when we get pissed off or upset and he's not doing it exactly the way a woman would do it, then right away, you know, gets exaggerated for the woman. So we've only got, so far I only see one man on here. So I'm wondering, I feel like having a conversation with you. What do you think about that? But I'm not going to ask you because you can't be on the audio. But it is rather hilarious, because if I switch over to male questions, what would you, just for a moment, imagine a man asks when he's coming for a reading? Well, more often than not, he'll say, can I trust her? Does she want to be a mother? Will we have a relationship where we can agree on things and I can trust that she will take care of my kids? I can trust that she's not going to have an affair. Have I got a good woman? That's basically it. Whereas women, it's like this big tale of how he should be like Prince Charming or Prince Charmant, as we say here in Quebec. We speak French. This guy who fulfills a particular script, and it's impossible. He might, when we fall in love, that moment where the veil goes over our eyes and we don't see any of the other person's flaws. But time goes by, that veil kind of comes down and we start saying, you've changed. They haven't, but you didn't see what they might have been telling you, or you might have seen. So, for example, I met this guy, he's really cute or whatever. He's got a few issues. I don't like the way he eats. And, he's always working and he doesn't respond to texts that quickly. And I'll say, well, can you live with that? And they'll say, yes, of course, I'm so in love. He's so handsome. He's got money. He's got a beautiful car. He takes me out all the time. He brings me flowers. I say, well, that's not going to last. You're going to have to change, go from childhood romantic immaturity to a developed relationship. Oh, yes, of course I want that. Month later, they come back. He's changed, right? He's changed. He's not bringing me flowers anymore. And I'll say, well, are you living together? I say, yeah, we're living together. Well, he doesn't need to romance you anymore. He's caught you. So now there's a whole different element where a woman, I'd say a child, a female child, a girl needs to grow up and begin to become a woman. And yeah, I'm talking about 20-year-olds, but I've met 80-year-old women who used to come for readings, and gosh, I have so many stories about readings, but she used to come for a reading, and her question every month was, will this man and I get married? And she was 80, a real coquette, like she was very cute, and you just saw her energy was such a princess, but he was 35. So it was very difficult to kind of tell her, well, he's quite young. And she would say, no, don't talk to me about how young he is. We are in love. So, well, have you kissed? Have you, had any relations? Oh, no. But it's lovely. It's wonderful. Will we get married? So you can have any age group where we haven't actually matured, right? So those of you who know about the individuation process, we go through that. We begin that process at 11 years old, 12 years old, 13, when our hormones start moving and we start to individuate. But of course, we don't end up individuating from everything. It's a continual process in life. So people individuate in different ways and different levels. Okay, so does anyone have a question? Please put it in the chat box.
We haven't got to that point yet. That was just your introduction.
No. Oh, that was no.
this is
You know me, when it comes to tarot, I can go on and on, right?
oh, it's brilliant. That's so fun. Well, the beauty of this, just wanted to touch briefly on the fact that when I took Terry Ann's weekend tarot course, I talk about this a lot with this, like the way you taught the class with the stories and the meanings, I went away and gave readings based on that knowledge. Now, okay, it wasn't that in depth, and I probably wasn't 100% accurate, but I was amazed that people were like, "You're spot on," kind of with some stuff. And that's partly why I wanted to explore this, because with Terry Ann's background in tarot, which is amazing, and she can talk forever with amazing and cool stories, but the 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 beauty of the way you teach things is that what we wanted to do is come up with this more of a membership ongoing thing so that we can keep layering it in. So we start with the basics and then we build from there so that we get maybe not as incredible as you, because we might not all
Why
have
not?
50 years left.
Why not? Why not? Because I want to repeat this. You have your own body of wisdom. So I have my particular body of wisdom. The way I put this together is to be able to give you something that anchors you into what the essence of the card is, or the most simple way of looking at the card. But your wisdom should rise up through as well, because you're going to see something a little bit different than I will. Of course, we should all be able to cross-reference and get the same reading, but in different ways, in different words. You could, since I brought up the 5, you could, if I look at the 5, my wisdom, and if I look at the surrounding cards, and I'm asking, what's this person's block? I could bring up a particular view, which is my filter, but you could come up with a different angle. So we would both see there's something blocking them from having a relationship. I might say, well, you haven't created space. Like you're just going along and you want the guy to show up and be there when you want him to be there. So you could find that. I might see that, and you might see another element. You might see, oh, are you emotionally ready for a relationship? That could come up as well. So it's not that anything is wrong in what you're reading. Well, it can be if you're way off in La La Land. This is to help you anchor so you can access it. So we could have slightly different views, right? We could have slightly different ways of viewing it. But generally, we all come up with the same reading. As I'm teaching a class presently, and we looked at a single card spread, a 3-card spread, and a 5-card spread, and we wanted to see if they coincide. And every single one coincided. I had a little different variation from my student, but we were both on the same track, doing 3 separate readings. 3 separate readings. It was very cool, very interesting. But we could get it practically. You knew it was exactly the same prediction, viewpoint, present position. Because one of the cool things about doing a 3-card spread, let's say you say, will I get a job? The present position should show you don't have one. So something inverted, or let's say this card, it's the failure card. So if that's in the present position, the reading is on. Oh, do they have a job now? No, they don't. So let's say if you put these 3 cards together, this is past, present, future. Past is which it's debauched, so emotionally, well, yeah, they don't have a job. We can toss that out. Present position, failure, no job. And then future is saying they will have a job. Now, it's an advanced level to teach you time frames. So we don't do that in this course, though I'll interject every so often. If you kind of sense that there's a time frame, I'll help you out with that. But that's another level. It's a little bit more difficult to do, but fun as well. You would ask, we would do time frames by, asking, will I get a job in a month? Yes or no. Will I get a job in 2 months? Yes or no. You would do it that way. But eventually you'll learn to be able to look at the reading and see exactly when and where the person would get a job or um, have a relationship, that kind of thing. And again, the other part is we don't read the future, we're reading probabilities. What's the probability? So if somebody comes in and you see no job, you might turn around and go, well, when was the last time you had a job? Oh, 10 years ago, I've been on welfare. Well, then you would see that the probability would be reduced that they would get a job. And then you would explore, if you wanted to, what are things I can do to change to start being someone who could get a job? Are those things
Cool.
fun? I don't know if they're fun, what I'm telling you. Are you having a good
Well,
time?
I'm
You
enjoying
having a
it.
good time?
It's a fun topic, wasn't
I love these stories. They were just so powerful for me to understand how the cards work and people's psyche. And it took me years to refine it. And that's exactly what I want to give you. So you don't have to go through all that ridiculousness. I think that's what discourages people from reading. Because to me, it's like, no, you can read really quickly. As Eloise mentioned, I'm always, when I first started teaching, I was really stunned how quickly people were able to go out and do a reading and be accurate. That really freaked me out. And even going around we had, rows of students, and I'd go around and I'd ask them to do the reading and I would check and see whether they're accurately reading. And we both agreed. So I was really blown away. So this technique works quite well rather than sitting around studying your little booklet and buying books. Not that that's not good. Of course you read books. I've read many, many books. But um, the application was a little bit more difficult for people. And that's where I think it's different. It's not like we just toss this at you and you have no no recourse for us to get together and talk about it and give me your difficulties, and we work through them. And of course the group gets to learn what those difficulties are. So
it?
it's
Yeah.
really fun.
I know
I
this is going
think
to be
every
fun.
tarot class I've had has been really fun.
So if you like fun, this will be good. The beauty of what we wanted to do, instead of just putting a course out there, which we could do, is to actually surround it with Q&A time with Terry Ann and build a community and have lots of time so that we can answer questions and just keep developing as a group, as a collective, as well as for me, the exciting thing is always learning about ourselves and how that changes my life and the dynamics with my relationships and all kinds of things. So what we're planning on doing is starting the Dose of Truth membership. So what we wanted to do was to do start off with a year and try and get through as much, because we don't know how long it's going to take us, doing 2 lessons every month, try and go through that basic level of tarot. Of course, with all the Q&A and everything additionally, it's going to add in nuggets of other things, more advanced levels, intermediate and things, but then just keep adding to that. So we end up at the end of the year with a basic level course. But on top of that, every month you're going to have Q&A time with Terry Ann, and we can get into all the wisdom of it. And, I mean, we can get into such depth about all kinds of different things and avenues and stuff. It's always very fascinating, and the group energy is also going to dictate this. And we really want to build a group of people on this journey with us to help shape the course and shape the membership as well. So it's going to be exciting. So,
And you primary members, those of you sign up,
yeah,
what's really cool is you get ongoing membership
yeah. So,
or my life, I guess, until I can't function. Um, so that's kind of fun too, just to watch you grow and develop. Yeah, I
yeah,
was just thinking maybe that's the next level, is to get you to be teachers and you can go off and teach other students, which can
don't
be fun
scare them yet.
too.
But yeah, I mean, like, so what we want to do is to do this membership, and what we're offering is our founding member offer. So if you want to come on board as a founding member, it's a one-off fee, or you can pay over 12 installments, slightly more, and join us for the journey of this. So it isn't just the year, although the year is going to be our initial bubble of people. This is going to be an ongoing thing, but you just pay once and then you're in for the life of this project. As long as you're in good standing in the membership and you're not being horrible to other people and fight by the rules. And as long as probably Terry Ann's alive, and that's going to be quite a while yet, you know, we can carry on this. And you never know, someone from the membership might pick it up and carry on. Who knows? So we don't know where the life of this is going to go, but we would love to invite some of you on this journey with us, and well, I hope you all join in. But yeah, so we're going to do. We're doing the founding member offer on this at the moment, and I think what makes us unique is well, is Terry Ann's knowledge and wisdom, and we've touched on some of the things already. I've got a whole list of things, but the fact that we're looking at the masculine and feminine of the representation of the cards instead of men and women, I think that's a thing that I've never heard anywhere else when I've been looking at these things.
Now, it's usually men and women. I haven't seen anyone really exploring the masculine and feminine within the reading, which changes the quality of the reading and the predictability of probabilities, as well as being able to see what I personally need to look at. And, sometimes just seeing if I'm more in my masculine at one point in my life and I want to break and I want to rest and I want to be in the feminine and passive dynamic energy, well, I'm going to have to make space for that if all my cards are coming up masculine. And I think it's pretty simple to see because when I first met my partner, it's like 9 years ago now, uh, after a month of seeing each other, I walked into his place and I just started yammering about my day and everything I need to do. And it was fascinating. He's an engineer, so he doesn't have a, esoteric brain. And he just turned around and looked at me and he went, "Oh, I'll just wait till you go into your feminine again." I can't believe how shocked I was. And I was so blown away. I just grounded right away into my feminine. And then I think an hour passed and I said, "What did you mean by that?" He said, "Well, you weren't being very feminine. You were just being like a guy." And I went, "He doesn't really know the difference between feminine and masculine, but he knows what he likes in a woman." And that's what made him say that. Of course, my brain shifted. Does he know about feminine and masculine? Does he have all this esoteric knowledge? He didn't. It was just clearly, no, you're not being feminine. You're being like a guy. You're being like me. And I'm not really interested in being near you for the moment. And so just shifting, he's like, "Oh, there you are." And then he just hugged me. It was so funny. But and this also lets you know, be careful what you think when you're in a relationship. Because me thinking he knew about esoterica and what the feminine, he didn't. He just knew women were more feminine. It's quite fascinating. Sorry, Eloise, I interrupted
No,
you.
it's okay. No, you're allowed to. You're allowed to interject. So the next thing on my list was that we encourage proper thinking to get more accuracy. Do you want to talk about proper thinking for a minute? Because I think that's a great.
Yeah, proper thinking is really making sure you're not, number one, using guesswork uh, when a person asks a question like, what does my boyfriend think of me? You want to make sure you know exactly what they're intending. Because what someone thinks of you is just a huge arena. So you could start doing a reading and you could talk for days on what this person thinks about you. There's one option. And then the other one could be he's not thinking about you right now and doesn't really think about you. He might have sexual feelings, but he doesn't think about you. He might have pictures of you naked in his head, but he might not be thinking things about you. So right away, you want to make sure that you're not presuming what the question is. So that's proper thinking. You're supporting the querent to actually, give you a clear question. Again, I mentioned earlier, they could do it in their heads, but they'll be left with an answer that they could be disappointed in or very excited about, but the answer doesn't match the question they asked. So if I'm thinking in my head, what does my boyfriend think about me? And then someone says, oh, it's the love cards. Yeah, doesn't necessarily match. He's not thinking love. What does he think about me? So you'd have to be clear. So we go through a lot of those. What someone thinks is not necessarily what they feel. It's not necessarily how they connect with you. So you can be super accurate. I had a gal come in. When I worked at this store, I was the only reader for years. And finally, I told them, I can't work 7 days a week anymore. You got to get some new readers in here. So we were eventually 3, which gave a little bit of a break to life. And we all read very differently. I was known as they called me the brutally honest one. Then there was another one who would flower things up and tell you what colors to wear and, how to attract a guy. And the other one would tell you to come back every week. Just come back next week, I'll tell you what to do next. Come back next week, I'll tell you what to do next. So
Great business model. Yeah.
it's a good business model. And she was very popular, but her karma sucked. She made a lot of money, but she never had any, which was just bizarre. And it was her, I guess I shouldn't say this, but it was her partner who was using up her money. It's like, well, you got to get this straight so you could just see the karma. In any case, just to describe this particular gal, what would happen is getting these repeated people to come in every week. Sometimes she wasn't there and it was me. So they, come up to me and say, I don't usually see you. And I see the other gal. And I'm like, well, you don't have to see me if you want to see me. And this girl sits down and asks me about this particular guy she was seeing. And I said, I don't see this happening. I was being very, very gentle. 2 days later, she shows up and I'm completely surprised. And I said, what are you doing here? Why are you coming for another reading? Quite frankly, I don't accept readings. If your reading was for a year, you don't need to come back unless it's changed. Yes, I know you would say, Eloise, that's a bad business model, but I find my karma more important than my business model.
Yeah. Well, if you have a million people, once a year is fine.
Yeah, once a year is fine. There's actually a book out there of this reader. He wrote a book and he said, don't come back. I think it was called Don't Come Back or something like that. So yeah, it's difficult when they come back too often. So she was back and I said, what are you doing here? She said, no, I want to know about this guy. And I'm like, okay. And I said, but this is it. Don't come back to me. Go to the other girl. She goes, I like you better. And I said, yeah, but I don't do this repeated. What I tell you the first time is the same. Next time, I'm not going to change it until you shift. So sit down. And I said, no, there's no way that you and this guy are going to work out. Well, what do you think happens? She comes back 5 days later and sits down. I look at her. I don't even want to do your reading. She said, no, I need to know what's going on. And I just looked down at the reading and look at her. He hates your guts. That's a pretty tough thing to say, but I just went, he hates your guts. And she said, you're so good. That's exactly what he told me last night. I was blown away. So yeah, it's never gonna work out. It's quite funny, but
She
tragic.
come back the next
right?
day.
No, she didn't do that. And I said, no, I'm not accepting you again.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
It's,
thanks for that. I don't know what to say after that story. That was
it's
great.
very hard to say. I could tell you a few more stories about readings, but maybe we'll save that for the course.
Yeah, we'll save all the juicy gossip for those who join in. Do you want to talk a little bit about storytelling? Because that, for me, is the crux of what we're doing with the way you teach.
That's hard to explain, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
All of a sudden, I just got struck with Well, if I put out a reading, I want to be able to tell a little story about what's going on with them, not say, okay, you're happy about this, you're unhappy about that. You're going to fall down a hole tomorrow. A manhole will drop on your head in a year. It's just very cold and dry. So what we're doing is, well, actually, originally I didn't think I could actually teach this. And it was through fairy tales that I realized I can, which was, here is the reading that you put in front of you. Let's say you have 10 cards. You're going to see I do crazy readings. I use half the deck, or whatever the deck is cut. If you cut half, if you cut 3/4, I end up using the whole thing. So even readers look at me and go, how are you reading this mess? Well, because the story, I see it in 3 dimensions in front of me and I tell it. So I thought, I'll never be able to teach that. And then I just realized, no, it's a story of someone's life. That's why the 3 dimensions are coming up. I'm not just reading each card, I can see the story. So who they're with, how their body is feeling, and I bring it all together. So you're able to you can use fairy tales, all the stories you've ever read, the stories from your life, to be able to construct it. So one of the things I often ask students is, when you look at the reading, what story is it telling you? Is it a Cinderella story? Is it a Pinocchio story? Very often it's a Pinocchio story, because most of us are wooden heads. So, we need to
Loosen
wake
up.
up and kind of see what's going on. Is it a story where, it's Odysseus going on his journey and meeting his dragon? We can have that. Like, think about every day how many times you meet your dragon. You could get to the checkout and you're in a rush and you can't get out and you're rushing. There's your dragon. And you start thinking, oh, why is the universe doing this to me? And why am I blocked? And you've just met your dragon. It's a prime opportunity to tame that dragon. Where are our dragons? They're usually in us, right? They're not the outside, they're usually in us. So you're able to look and see, oh, there's my dragon. I get really agitated by things, or I get really angry, and you'll get to see the story. So you start to see particularly where the person's at. Then you might get a combination of stories. That gets a little complex, because to have a combination of stories like romance, falling in love, finding your feminine and masculine, and meeting your partner, versus your dragons, versus your job opportunities, versus, will I travel? Will I get my career? Depending on the probability that you can do all of it, that's kind of interesting. You might be looking at a 10-year time span, which would give you several stories. But most of the time it's a single story. It's unique. So a person they could have their job, they can, travel, they can do all these things, but they just can't have a relationship. So the story is the discovery of the feminine masculine, just like Cinderella. So you would be telling it in a similar fashion, that you need to, like, you're going through this journey of exploration of your feminine, and once she becomes developed, she will be able to receive her masculine. There's one story. Somebody is completely oblivious to what's going on in their lives. That would be Pinocchio. Somebody who's seeking their fortune. I had a guy who came many years ago. He was a young man, very young man. Sat down, I just see this empire and money making, but he would make decisions too quickly and lose his money. So he came to me on a lark. He just said, my girlfriend told me to come and see you. I said, okay, let's have some fun, and you go off. And I predicted exactly when he was going to lose all his money. And he came back and he said, I didn't believe any of this. I still don't believe it. This could be an accident that you predicted, out of 12 months and 365 days, you predicted within a 3-day period that I would lose money, all my money. And it happened. So he's been coming to me for 20 years to make sure he's got a reading of his entire year and where he would possibly lose money. So his journey is the journey of the emperor, but the emperor, to get to his empire, must go through the obstacles. So you could read it as, oh, look at that. He's going through all of the difficulties. He has to keep slaying his dragons. And you could see that the particular dragon that he slays is the one where he rushes too quickly, just goes too fast through things. So you can actually pinpoint exactly what dragon he needs to slay. And obviously, relationship is an easy one. You could think of other fairy tales or your own fairy tale, right? So some of us don't have difficulty going into relationship, but you might know some friends and you watch them go through their process. Now, it doesn't mean they'd have the same problem as your friend, but you'll start to see the pattern, right? Sex and the City is a good one. He's just not that into you, if you've ever seen that episode. You can watch pretty much any book, any novel, any movie. What about what's the one with Richard Gere and
Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman. There is a tale, right? And I know that she's a prostitute, but it's still the dynamic of the undeveloped feminine trying to figure out how to have a relationship, and she's able to transform him and he's able to support her transformation, and they end up together. So it doesn't mean you're going to have a prostitute in front of you, but you could have someone who is prostituting their essence, their nature, and you would guide them through that. So that's how we get these fairy tales or movies. You're the one who's going to access your own, and the stories you've heard from your friends, right? The stories you've heard from men listening to women, and for women listening to men. They do things rather differently. And if you don't know those stories, good time to watch a lot of movies. That's always good. Well, we did an advanced level course for a year on fairy tales, and we just watched movies every week, and we'd come in and we'd relate the tarot to the fairy tale and how that would relate to a person. So it was really a lot of fun.
There's a lot of fun we can have later on down the line.
Down the line, but also we're going to relate it to the stories that I'm going to encourage you to kind of see the story and be able to relate it to the cards. So it isn't just, King of Coins is someone who is prosperous, who is good at making money. Inverted, he is not prosperous, he is arrogant. That's too cold and dry. It could be possible that he's arrogant, but when the card's upside down, I find it way more tender to notice that if the King of Coins is upside down, he's in a position that could change for him. He could be in a place where something is blocked, and that's when you use other cards. Single cards, we're going to do it, but it's very difficult to read a single card. It takes a lot of experience. You can do it and you can get it right, just like a 50-50 coin, but it's not that easy because there's a paradox in every card. So imagine an upright card, happiness. You see happiness here. So there's a shadow in this card. So most people read the shadow upside down. I don't. I read the shadow here. When I turn it upside down, there is light and shadow in it. Now, how do I know which? Then I use another card to find out. How am I? So let's say happiness is upside down. So there's a shadow in there. Something's difficult. But if I put this card, all right, it's not happening right now, whatever it is you've asked, but you're going to give birth to it. So it changes the element of what's going on in an upside down card. And there's your story. You have a beautiful story. Oh, right now, you're unable to get to a conclusion of whatever the question is. And then let's say I want to get a job. I'd like to have a job. Yeah, so presently you're not in a job, but this is also a 9. So 9 means endings. And then this tells us, oh, you are going to end this part of your journey and you will move into something. And you could tell a big story, obviously, creative, right? Something that is creative, that your feminine is going to be able to rise to the surface, and you'll be able to use that feminine dynamic energy in your career. So it just ends up being this beautiful story.
Cool.
Cool.
Oh, I'm so excited. Right, okay, I'm gonna screen share for a second and go through what we're covering, like in terms of logistics for a bit, and then we'll jump into questions. So if I share a portion of my screen, we might get lucky. Hey, there we go. So we're going to do a year of tarot deep diving, and if you want to join us, as you can tell, Terry Ann is the wisdom. I'm here to anchor her and organize everything. And so I'm all the logistics, all the support, all the customer service, all the admin and all the rest of it. So we're going to start the membership. So we're kicking off on the 15th of February this year. So we've got just under a month now until we get started. And we're going to go on a journey together creating the basic tarot course. And then we're going to carry on with the membership adding to that. So around that, we're going to create a community as well, obviously with all the members. You're all going to be lovely. Everyone who's signed up so far is lovely. And we're going to have some fun. It's going to be quite entertaining, I think. So if you like us, you like us. So each month we're going to have 2 lessons. Now, we don't want to overload everybody, and that's one thing I'm very conscious of. So the 2 lessons will be a maximum of an hour each. So we're going to have 2 lessons every month and 2 Q&A sessions. So you can actually ask Terry Ann questions. And we're going to learn a lot through that question and answer. But also we may learn that we've actually missed bits out of the course and we need to go back and add to it. So we're going to actually be able to develop the course in a more dynamic way by getting your feedback and adding to it. So every month you're going to get 2 lessons and you're going to get 2 live Q&As. And then we're going to add some demos in where necessary to help support that. And you can see Terry Ann actually doing readings for people and demonstrating where we are along that journey as well. Because we'll start off with a couple of cards, and then as we move to more complex spreads, if you like, then we'll be doing more demos. So now, alongside that, for those of you on Facebook, I know not everyone loves it, we're going to do a Facebook group so that we can have a lot of Q&A in there. So if you've just missed a live Q&A and you've got a burning question, you have actually got a way of reaching out to us and Terry Ann answering your question in between that period. So we're going to have ongoing access to us in between all of the sessions as well. So that's going to be a nice way of you all supporting each other as well. And it'd be a nice way of building the community, meeting like-minded people, and maybe even answering each other's questions, which would be really amazing to see develop. Now, alongside of all of this, we're going to have a workbook. So as we keep releasing the lessons, I'm going to keep creating the workbook alongside it. So you're going to have a really nice document that's going to go through the journey as well through the course. And all the videos are going to be housed in our little membership area, which is already live. Not everything on it's live. We've got time, I'll give you a quick view. But we have actually got some pre-work that we have started recording to go live before we start the course. And the first question everyone has had when they've signed up is, right, I need to buy a set of cards. So we've already released the class that is how to pick a deck of cards to go on this journey with us and things like that. So I'm going to be drip feeding out some of the content over the next few weeks. And then when we start on the 15th of February, that first lesson will kick off. Now, all the videos of all the Q&As and anything that we add in demos and everything are going to be housed in the membership. And the cool thing is I'm making all the videos searchable. So you can go, oh, hang on, I want to know about this card. You can search for that card and it will come up with all the times that we've talked about that card over the journey. So it's going to make it a lot quicker for you to go, okay, I asked Terry Ann a question some point this year. I can't remember when it was. Let me search for my name. And if she's mentioned you by name or reference the question, you'll actually be able to go to that point in the video immediately. So that'll be a really nice feature to support answering questions as well. And of course, If you come on board as a founding member, you get access to the membership forever. So we're going to go through this journey of the next year together, and then, you know, we're going to carry this on. So as soon as the beginner course is completed, we're going to carry on releasing some kind of regular lessons, ongoing Q&A, and we're going to keep this going throughout the rest of time, because there's so much we can explore. Getting into the archetypes, getting into the fairy tales and the films and things. So this is an ongoing journey, and we're just scratching the surface in some ways, but the way we're teaching this, it's going to be a really beautiful way of starting to read straight away and just keep layering to it, so we keep having fun and keep learning about ourselves. You know, I don't know about you lot, but quite often I've signed up for courses and then I never bother taking it. We're really going to make sure you take this and use this. So it's going to be cool. So for the first 10 people, and some of these spots have already gone, so if you want one, don't hang around. We are also offering a one-on-one session with Terry-Ann to have a private tarot reading as well for the first 10 founding members that sign up. Everybody is going to get a couple of bonuses. So all the founding members are going to get, Terry-Ann and me did an attraction course a few years ago, so that is included, and my 11 Keys to Intuition mini course. We've also got a bonus meditation inside the membership as well, and we may add some more to that as we keep going. So I've got a couple of questions here, but does anyone have any questions from the live people? Feel free to add them in the chat if you want, if you don't want to be on camera. You can type them in to me. But let me go through the ones that I have from everyone who couldn't make it. So the first question that we had was around schedules. Now, I have already inside the membership area started scheduling things. The one thing I haven't scheduled, and this is why I haven't put it live yet, is when the Q&As are going to be. Because we want to know who our founding members are first. If everybody is in the UK, we will get the timings for the live Q&As in UK friendly times. If we get a load of people in Montreal, for example, where Terry-Ann is, and only a couple of people in the UK, or we get half and half, or we get a load of people in Australia, we don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to have 2 live sessions every month, and what we want to do is time them around the majority of the people that are on, that have signed up, so that we can at least accommodate people being able to easily meet and join in live with at least 1 session every month. So that's why I haven't released the schedule yet, because we want to kind of get to know where everybody is, and you know, we'll actually send out a questionnaire and get some idea on timing of when would be good for everybody, and then take it from there in determining when we start scheduling that. I know the schedule of when we're going to release the lessons, but I don't know the timing yet for the Q&As. So we will add that in. So that was one question everyone's been having. People have been asking us what our minimum number is for this. We don't really have one. I think now we've got people signed up, we're going for it. I don't know about you, Terry-Ann, but you know. But in our heads, we have a maximum number, and I'm not going to share numbers because, you know, whatever plays out will be perfect. But we have a maximum number where we will cut this off, because we do not want to have 1 million people on, obviously. We want to have, and hopefully we'll get to a nice sweet spot where we've got enough people so that we've got some dialogue, conversation, and we get to grow this community together and go on this journey throughout the year. But we're not, you know, swamped, because we really want to make sure we're here to hold your hands through this first year as we develop the course and get it all together. So when's the deadline for signing up was another question I had. Well, we are going to close the founding member offer at the end of January. So we don't start the course until the 15th of February. That's kind of go live date. Obviously, there are lessons and bits and pieces dropping before then for those that have signed up. But we're going to close the founding member at the end of the month. So you've got the rest of January to make a decision if you want to join us. And then we'll see what we do based on the numbers. What will the ongoing membership look like? We don't know quite yet. I think we'll probably end up carrying on doing a couple of lessons every month in the live Q&As and carrying on with the same format. but we'll see. If the membership deems that we actually going in a different direction over the course of the year based on the feedback of the people signing up, then we will, this is something that we want to work on together. So, if it doesn't work that format and we end up changing it, then that's what it'll look like moving forward. We're kind of going with the flow. I've done some tarot reading before. Is this for me? Terry-Ann, do you want to answer that? Because I think that's a really interesting question if people have done some tarot training before, or can they still get something out of this?
Yeah, this is where, it's a great moment to explore proper thinking. A question like that is so random, I can only assume.
Yes.
What some tarot reading means. So for this person who's asking, I have met seasoned readers who have decided to take the class, and they said they learned so much. And part of that is what we're offering, or I'm offering, is the feminine masculine. They never saw that, even though they'd been readers professionally for years. They hadn't seen that. And they found that the proper asking of questions also improved their reading skills. And yeah, I would say this is for readers who are already seasoned. I mean, if you're way off and you've got, years and years of experience in your reading, this could be fun for you to explore, especially if you're missing these elements that I've brought up, like fairy tales, telling a story, the feminine and masculine, and proper asking of questions. That would immediately tell you that this is for you. If you've only been reading a few years or even 5 years, even 10 for some people, I think they get a lot of benefit. So if you've done some tarot reading and you mean, little bits and pieces here and there over the last couple of years, even 3 years, yeah, of course this is for you.
Cool.
I'm trying to answer for all possible variations.
No, perfect.
And I hope that it helps you, those of you who are listening, that you really need an accurate question, because I'm not going to be able to guess. I could put out a reading to figure out how much tarot you've done and whether the course is for you. But I won't do that with everyone. You could call me up for a reading and I'll do that for you to see if the course is for you.
Do a reading for you and you can determine if they...
Yeah, but you should be able to do it for yourself too. If you've done enough readings, I don't think you would need me to do it.
So this course, although, this is for our own personal development as well as learning to read tarot professionally. I mean, if you want to do it for yourself or if you want to do it professionally, we're here to help your hand. I think we will get into the business side of it, maybe in year 2 or something, in case, if you do want to go and make this into a more of a career thing. But we might get some world famous tarot readers out of this. I don't know. That'd be really interesting. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we can start with the
tarot business.
Yeah, basic platform is understanding that your development obviously is going to encourage a better reading. I mean, if I'm just, let's bring Pinocchio, if I'm just a wooden head and I'm doing a reading and I never look at myself, well, it's going to be wooden readings and they're not going to be of much benefit. And I think, this is my speculation. If you start to do readings, it's going to support transmuting your karma. And we'll get into a lot more of that, through storytelling again, that, when people react or you get things wrong or you're totally off target, you start to self-reflect. And that self-reflection, it supports changes in your life. In a deep level, you can't be doing esoteric work and not have an influence. And I'd say so I've already mentioned that, if difficulties come up for me, I see them in paradox and go, okay, it's a difficulty, but I'm going to learn something. I'm going to transmute something within myself. That's way more important than I'm just going to learn something. learning is great, but transmutation is magical. So you start to transmute those things for yourself. I mean, it's very powerful,
Yeah.
fun, wonderful.
Fun, wonderful, powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to getting started. I'm so excited.
Well, it was really fun listening to you because Eloise literally does all the organizing and I just do content, right? This is my my work. So it was really interesting to watch you talk about it. I went, yeah, I want to take this class. And then I realized, oh no,
You got to teach it, lady.
I've got to teach it. But it would be fun to be the student.
Oh, it's too funny. Anyway, I don't want to keep you all night, but if anyone's got any questions and you want to put them in the chat, please do. I mean, if you're happy to jump on video, you're more than welcome to ask out loud. But I will do is I will pop on the screen. I'll pop in the chat the link to more information on the course, and I'll put it on the recording. I'll put it on the screen. So if you want to dig in and read more about this and see what we're doing, and our invitation to you is if you want to join us as a founding member this month, you're more than welcome to, and we would love to have you all on board. Any questions at all, you can email me or email us at info@doseoftruthtarot.com. So if you have got any questions, feel free to reach out, ask. More than happy to answer any questions anyone's got. We are starting on the 15th of February. Founding member is available until the end of the month. So if you want to jump on, or if the founding member is too much of a stretch for you, reach out to us, ask us, because after we'll see where the numbers are at the end of the founding member period, and then we'll see whether we can do something as an ongoing thing for other people. Obviously, you'll end up paying a lot more in the long run, but you won't have to put so much up front. So there will be an option if we've got room. So if there are any questions, thank you, Terry-Ann, for coming on tonight. It's been lovely to see you. Anyway, I love you and leave you all. Thanks for coming on board. Lovely to see all your faces.
Thank you, Eloise. That was really nice to get together and see new faces. That's really, really nice to see faces.
Yay, see everyone's smiley faces. Lovely to see you all. And yeah, reach out if you've got any questions. Love to have you on board, but I will leave it here for this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day, wherever you are. And we'll hope to see you for some fun when we get started.
Thanks, Eloise.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.